Hello and welcome to the Two Devs and a Dude podcast. I am your host, Jay Kidd of Wraith Games.
I am Cajun, host of the IndieView Podcast.
Man, that's some good enthusiasm. I am the dude of this lovely podcast, Grant McClure, the founder of GameOver GameOn and Twitch streamer and all that cool stuff.
So on today's episode, we are doing our wonderful game club format, and the game of this time is going to be Minit, a wonderful little indie game that came out recently. So let's start with you, Grant, and then we'll go sort of round the board and we'll talk about what it is. But why don't you tell the lovely people what this game is all about?
Okay, so this game, Minit, is the 60-second action adventure game. It was developed by J and William Nodgman, co-founder and one half of Velmbeer. I'm reading from the Wikipedia page, and also the game was published by Devolver Digital, which I'm a big fan of Devolver Digital. They make some really cool and weird games. I believe they're working on a game called Russian Subway Dogs that was shown at PAX, which I've heard you play as a dog and you have to survive on the Russian subway. That's all.
They were, I believe, I want to say that was 3 booths away from us at PAX.
Yeah, well, maybe someone got, but this isn't the PAX special. But yeah, Devolver Digital does really cool, awesome, weird games, and their last year's E3 presentation, hilarious. So if you haven't seen that, it's a good 30-minute laugh about not even video games. It's just there's gore and people kill themselves on stage. It's weird. It's real weird. It's Devolver Digital. Watch it. But okay, so yes, Minit, like I said, it's a 60-minute action adventure game where you play as this
60-second.
Yeah, 60-second action.
Good God, if every single life lasted 60 minutes, could you all imagine how long that takes?
You could beat the game in one life. If you
could, very easily.
Imagine if you needed every 60 minutes.
I mean, you're throwing my train off. You're throwing my train off the tracks, Cajun. Where was I?
Choo-choo.
Yeah, what I was saying, it's the 60-second action adventure game where you play as this weird duck-billed dude. I don't know, he doesn't even have a name. One day you wake up and you're like, hey, wonder what's going on, and you come out of your house and you're walking around. And so that's how the game starts, is there's nothing, you don't have a life bar, you have no timer or anything. So you're just wandering around. Somehow you end up on a beach and you see a sword. You pick the sword up and the timer starts, just like that. So one big takeaway of this game is it's very obtuse. The whole game doesn't really explain much to you other than you got 60 seconds and you've got to figure out how to live. Other than that, the music is really great. I enjoyed this little game. It's an interesting game for speedrunning. I know there's a trophy on the PlayStation. I played it on the PlayStation.
Hey, I actually got to play. It's the first game that I feel I've done at least one complete playthrough on my PC now that it has been rebuilt and actually can play some games.
Congrats.
Oh, very nice.
I'm very proud of that. I'm still waiting on my RAM to come in, but I've got a graphics card that can play a monochrome game at least.
I mean, I'm sure you could have. If you can play a monochrome game, you really need to play Pony Island. I can't stress that enough. Everyone needs to play Pony Island.
Maybe next game.
So while Grant was gushing over Devolver Digital, I just want to say that Velmbeer is one of my favorite indie developers, mostly because of Super Crate Box and the Frazzers. I'm so hearing that Jan was part of this team. It made me immediately interested in whatever this was, and it did not disappoint.
I forgot that they made Lufrauser. Yeah, because that game's super fun.
Actually, I've never heard the name pronounced before. Is it Jan or is it Jan?
I think it might be Jan. I think I don't know where they're from. So
the Netherlands.
Yeah, it's
Nederlanden.
It's probably Jan.
Probably Jan.
Yeah. Velmbeer is known for Nuclear Throne, Ridiculous Fishing, Super Crate Box, Serious Sam, The Random Encounter, and Luftrauser.
Yeah, because Super Crate Box was one of the first indie games that I really, really got into. That sort of changed how Wraith did their projects. So playing Minit, you can sort of see that kind of quirky sense of humor, all throughout of it, the same way some of the other Vlambeer or Devolver Digital stuff tends to do.
I didn't know they developed Nuclear Throne. I've heard good things about Nuclear Throne. I'll have to.
Oh, it's great.
So yeah, okay. What was I saying? I don't know.
Well, you were giving the recap, so I figured you were kind of done since you
that's
successfully.
That's how the game starts. You just pick up the sword and hey, you're off to the races. The 60-second life race to death.
The game is kind of it looks like Downwell, like its art style, but it plays kind of like if Link's Awakening was a micro game from WarioWare. That's kind of how it is. You go throughout the game and you die every 60 seconds, and you're trying to get as far as you can go. But each time you die, your progress is saved. So whatever item you pick up, whatever like deeds you do for people, whatever, not always, but sometimes if you like destroy part of the environment, it'll stay, stuff like that. It's a really, really cool way of doing this limited progression, but you always start back off in whatever your current home is. And that means that you have to sort of learn what you need to do. It's almost like something like a nowhere near as difficult I Want to Be the Guy, because it's all about memorizing what you need to do, and then each time you do it a little better. Almost, it's almost like speed running, except without the speed running.
Yeah, it really is like speed running the game minus the actual speedrunning part of like breaking the game.
Well, okay. I take umbrage at that comment. You do not need to break the game to be a speedrunner.
Two different versions of speedrunning. But yes, it's basically memorizing the map layout and what exactly you need to do. Sorry I offended you, Jay, about your speedrunning.
Well, most traditional speedrunners do not utilize glitches and the like. They just do the game as intended really, really well. So, and very, very fast.
Which is cool. I mean, just to go on a tangent of speedrunning, just a smidge. I'm not in that wheelhouse. I've watched a few of them, but all the ones that I've found super fascinating are the ones that have broke the game. Like I watched a speedrun of Doom, the new Doom 2017, where it was on PC, and they have to they unlock the frame rate, and once the frame rate hits a certain cap, that they can literally jump across the map and phase through doors, and they can beat the game within like I think 5 minutes. Glitching
speedruns are fun to watch, but like for instance, my wheelhouse, Super Mario World, I think you can beat it in under a minute if you use glitches, but the actual speedrun that requires like a lot of skill, the minimalist completion speedrun there, I think the current world record is 11 minutes. So that's 10 additional minutes, and it requires, more actual gameplay, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think speedrunning is an apt comparison for what Minit is and why Minit is as fun as it is, because it taps into that same kind of mentality, I guess. Cajun, what do you think?
He's dead.
Oh no, poor Cajun. It must have been 60 seconds. We have to wait for him to get back to this part.
Oh my god, I had something I was going to say and I just don't. Like, my head is not working properly this evening. My brain, like I said, I'm just verbal vomit everywhere. So that's cool. I sound like a really good professional podcaster. Like I haven't been doing this for like a few years now. I'm just, that guy, that Grant, he's pretty terrible. He's pretty bad. Just throwing that out there. That's cool. Speaking of which, you should go to iTunes and rate us 5 stars. You should be like, because Grant's really good.
That is actually a little something. We are finally now on iTunes and Google Play, and then hopefully very soon we'll also be on SoundCloud, Spotify, and Stitcher as well.
This game, what you were saying, what I was saying about the speedrunning thing, it's great, but it does get a little frustrating when you know exactly what you need to do, but you can't figure out how to do it. And it's just, I'm giving a confession, the fact that I had to look up a guide for like the one little last part because I was tired of bashing my head up against the wall for like an hour. And when you're doing 60-second chunks of the same thing over and over for an hour, you're like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to look up a guide, but I want to complete this game. I want to fully understand this experience. Because I enjoyed it. I didn't want to do it. It broke me. Like, I was just like, this goes against everything that I actually stand for, but also, like, I don't want to. I'm sure Jay can attest to this, but as you get older, time is precious. whether regardless of how much time that you do have. So it's like I was playing this game. I was like, this is really cool. I was enjoying it. But I hit a wall because the game, you should be able to complete it in your first playthrough in about an hour and a half or so to 2 hours.
Sounds about right.
But I'd been playing it when I streamed it, I played, I think, for like 2.5 hours. And then I just hit the wall because I gave up. And sorry. Go ahead, Jay.
No, you go on. You finish up first.
Yeah, well, I kept hitting that wall, and then the following day, after I got to stream, I went to bed, and I was like, maybe I can figure it out without looking it up, because I got some rest, refreshed. Kept doing it, kept dying, kept going the same way. I'm like, I need the flippers that's on top of the hotel. I just can't figure out how to get the flippers. What do I have to do to get the flippers? And so I kept going around, trying to find out, going to the same parts of the map, kept finding it. And then all of a sudden, I just said, I'm done. All right, I'm going to look it up. Just really quick, just a little picture walkthrough. And got to the point where I was at. And I was like, oh, all you have to do is go up from the hotel. And then you end up in this field. And then from there, you cut the trees down and you go up again. And I never thought about cutting the trees. And I was so disappointed in myself. I was like, why didn't I ever think about that? Don't understand why that never occurred to me. So you do that. You get the little bone from... I had took the sword, had the bone, and I was like hitting people with the bone. And I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Kept dying. Then went into the house and did that whole thing. And then and if you go inside the haunted house, it just spams like tips. It's just like, oh, you keep going left, keep going this and this and this. And then if you hit the TV, it just says, I think then the ghosts appear on the outside. And the ghost states that one of the guys that are, just kill the enemies that have weapons. You do that, and he's like, oh man, I'm sorry, I got mixed in with the wrong crowd. I'm going to go hang out at the hotel now. That's all I needed to do. I just needed to get that one guy back at the hotel. Then it's like, oh, everyone at the hotel is happy and everyone's back. And then you get the ladder drops down, you climb up, and you get the flippers.
And you know what? I actually have two things to sort of say on that respect. Because I can understand why it's frustrating, but the two things are that I come from kind of an arcade background. I collect arcade cabinets. I like playing arcade games. And for me, it's like, okay, well, I died 4 times, and now I have to pop a quarter in, and I'm going to start back from the very beginning. The machine that I play with the most often here, it's a Neo Geo MVS. That way you can like slot stuff in and out. Well, maybe not most often. Probably my Mortal Kombat 2 is my most often, but still. The thing about that is I've not modded it, so you can't. So it doesn't require coins. So I just have a bag of tokens that I use for that. And so in my head, I'm really, really used to playing the same section of a thing over and over and over again, and only getting past it, once I figure out a new way to do things. Same thing with the little bit of speedrunning I do in Mario World. But what this really reminds me of most is a game like Anodyne. Have you ever played Anodyne, Grant, Cajun?
It doesn't even ring a bell.
Not a bit.
Oh, well, that is. Oh God, I think that's a future episode right there. Actually,
I'm gonna look it up. Is it ANI?
You should. ANODYNE.
I think I've seen you talk about it in chat before, but that's about all I've got.
No, I don't even think I've talked about it in chat. I picked it up a few years ago. It's very much a kind of a Zelda style kind of a game, which is one of my favorite, the 3/4 action adventure kind of a thing, one of my favorite genres. But there were definitely points where I'm like, I have scoured every last corner of this map, and I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do. And then it's just sort of like this click moment. So I don't know. I think that's something almost inherent to the 3/4 perspective action adventure game in general, because that happens in Anodyne. It happens in 3D Game Heroes. It happens, at least for me, for a little while in the Oracle games, like the Mermaid, the one Mermaid area, and I think it was Oracle of Seasons. So I don't know if that was something inherently about Minit, but it was definitely something that exists throughout the genre, and I think it was just sort of made more clear in Minit just because the game itself is so short. You know what I mean?
I just want to pause 1 second, and I'm looking at videos of the Anodyne, and there's a good bundle right now. There's a bundle on Steam that you can get both games, Anodyne and even the Ocean, which I guess it might be by the same developer, for $21.13. It's 15% off because even the Ocean is $15 by itself. They look very cool, but also you mentioned Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons, my two favorite Zelda games by far. Like they're my favorite. Like there's no doubt about it. Even the Ocean looks like the gameplay wise looks kind of like Mega Man.
It's very different from something like Anodyne. It's an entirely different genre, but it does look pretty spiffy.
I think it's by the same, yeah. And Anna, I'm gonna butcher their name because the only thing I can keep popping up, I see Anal Gestic, and I'm like, that's not how you pronounce it, but
Analogistic.
Analogistic, yeah. Analogistic Productions. Yeah, this Anodyne game looks dope.
One of my favorite games of all time is actually a Flash game called Seedling. And I picked up Anodyne after playing Seedling, and it's very sort of similar experience. And then after obviously playing Undertale, I would say that Minit has the sense of humor of Undertale, but the Zelda style gameplay, the more indie-fied Zelda-style gameplay of Anodyne and Seedling with that really, really cool reset gimmick. I don't know. So maybe at some point we could do a back-to-back. A Seedling you can complete in a half an hour. It's a very small experience. But maybe we could do a back-to-back of Seedling and Anodyne. And then use what we've learned from Minit and maybe do a follow-up about Minit later on. Because I think playing them in the context of each other actually makes a lot of sense the more I think of it.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I would be, they all look really, they look really cool. See, it's cool because I have that, I get my main gaming information from like the big three, Polygon, Kotaku, IGN, and they do their main focus of, the AAA games, like the big developers. And I get that, the indie side from you, which is really cool because you got good taste in indie games. I mean,
well, thank you.
So far, you do want to play The Room, the game.
Yeah, no, at some point we will be playing The Room, the game for this podcast. And I think our fans are going to love that.
I still have to see the movie. I'm dedicating myself to at least seeing the movie before we play the game, so I really understand what the hell's going on.
The three of us will have to watch it together, because it is best watched in the company of friends.
Great. Awesome. I watched The Disaster Artist, just a little tangent off The Room, and we need to get back on to Minit. Of
course. So, Cajun, what are your thoughts on Minit?
So what I love is I'm like a super casual player of games. Like I just generally waste time playing games. It's hard for me to truly get sucked into and dedicated to any game or any platform really. But that's where like Minit's mechanics are beautifully crafted that I can sit there. Okay, I can play a minute, 2 minutes, just a couple of rounds, trying to explore, trying to figure things out, and I can move on, go do other stuff. Kind of let it sit in the back of my mind. It's like, okay, I couldn't find stuff there. It's a very small map, really. Looking at it, it's actually someone did a almost complete map from screenshots in the Steam forums, and it's really not that big of a game. And so you can just kind of sit there and think about the different sections that you're trying to go through, even when you're not playing the game, and try to figure stuff out really easily. I'm still trying to hunt for all the coins on my first. I've completed my first playthrough, where I've beaten the boss the first time. I haven't started plus mode yet, But I'm still trying to go through and get all the stuff. I'm still only at about 50-60%. And as well as it is, there's just so much to explore. But keeping it in those bite-sized sections of a minute each, it gives the urgency, and it still gives you that exploration, because you can zip from one checkpoint, a little house where you sleep, like the trailer, the house, etc. You can zip between those within 60 seconds at a time. So you just you can keep it going, but at the same time, it's really easy to just take a break whenever you want.
And like one of the things that I found, and I absolutely agree with that, it's a great sort of bite-sized game. That's how I played it. Was I would play it for like a little while, like 10, 15 minutes, and then put it down and then come back, after getting a snack or whatever. But like, can we talk about the characters for a second? They're so weird in like the best possible way. Like, if I had to describe the game in one word, it would be quirky. They're so quirky. Like, both of their designs and in their dialogue. Like the little hotel manager, like the masochist. Like, oh my god, I love these guys.
Oh yeah, when you hit him and he's like, yeah, dad. Or I don't think he says yeah, daddy, but he's just like, yeah, do it again, yeah.
More. This is what I've always dreamed of. Like this, the game is really funny, and I think one of the funny things, not actually funny, but one of the interesting things about the game is that some characters talk really, really slowly. So really, to invest your time in engaging with these characters, you're having to waste some of your life to do it. You're having to waste the 60-second lifespan you get, and I still want to talk to these characters, even though that I know I'm wasting my time.
The old man in the lighthouse, he's like, what you need to do is, like, it's just like, you literally, it takes 60 seconds to get through what he has to say. Like, I never even got to the end of it. I died, like, 4 times and I was just like, come on, old man, spit it out already.
I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can actually get all of it.
You cannot speed him up. So most of the characters, a couple of them actually talk pretty quick. Most of them talk okay. You can read their messages a couple of times. You're like, okay, I don't really need to read this again. But the old man, the first time you click it, you see how slow it's going. You're like, oh, this was a bad idea. Yeah. Like, and I think I've clicked on his speech like 3 times total.
Yep. Yeah. You're like, yep, I'm going to die. Yep, I'm dying. Now, to piggyback off what Cajun was saying, though, is that I do think one of the charms, like, you have the character and the characters, the dialogue and the design of it, but the simplicity of the game is also one of its great charms.
I mean, it's monochromatic, for crying out loud. Literally just black and white.
I think that one of the best ways to call its entire suite of mechanics, whether it be the combat or the life mechanic or the item collecting or any of it, I think the best way to describe those would just be efficient. The entire game knows exactly what it wants to do, and its mechanics do that in the most efficient way possible. Like, sometimes the sword play can be a little clunky, and like standing there to charge up to throw your sword and stuff is a little slow. But I think that obviously that's intentional. But the game's mechanics are so utilitarian that is actually a benefit. Like, this game wastes no time. This game gives no bullshit. It gives you the tools you need to do to accomplish the tasks it wants you to complete in the time frame it gives you. And I love it. Like, it's so good for that.
So there's a saying that I don't even remember where I heard this. It's been a long time. So an engineer will continue to add on to a building until it has any and everything it could ever possibly need to use it for before he calls it complete. An architect will continue to trim down until only the most essential parts of the building to retain its spirit are still there. And Minit is not minimalist. It's not absolute bare bones, like almost hipsterish. We're going to make it as minuscule for mechanics as we can. But you're entirely right on, like, the mechanics that are there for a reason, and they don't have any extraneous skills, features. Everything is there to work together, and they do it amazingly.
That's actually one of the really cool things is like the mechanics are very utilitarian in their nature. They're there to facilitate these goals, but I think the goals that it's really trying to get the player to experience the world itself. So that's why they have a really cool art design. That's why they have really cool character designs. That's why they have really, really quirky dialogue. That's why they have varied environments. Even in this tiny little map, the environments are very varied from each other. And they want you to immerse yourself in this world, and they don't want the mechanics to be a barrier to that. You know, they want you to be able to pick it up and go. You know, you don't have to, there's no skill mastery as far as the mechanics are concerned, because almost each little area is a puzzle. This is basically a puzzle game more than anything else. It's just a puzzle game through the lens of a 3/4 action adventure.
Yeah, it basically takes just your, I guess, 16-bit era action or like adventure game and trims all the fat to where...
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it does. It takes any of the... okay, so Zelda has various other screens filled with enemies, I guess, to make the game seem longer than it is. While Minit has maybe one screen that has enemies in it that will lead you to the next screen to get the item that you need. Like, it's there to just slightly slow you down, but you also do not have to fight those enemies to reveal an item. So it takes like any fat that...
I compare it to Link's Awakening more than anything else.
That's what I meant, Link's Awakening. Yeah, basically you take... what I was saying, Link's Awakening, and you trim all the fat and give it fairly simplistic controls that are extremely intuitive. And
instead of the full Kokiri forest, you have plus the Kokiri village. You have like 4-6 different little screens you can go through. You know, you still have a lot, like Jay said, a lot of variation in that. But I mean, you have a nice little package that you can explore real fast before you move on to the next zone.
So, I know I've been comparing Minit to a lot of different games for different reasons, and that's because I think its very nature invites comparison. But for a second, I want to compare it to a game that I enjoyed but didn't love and thought I would love. Have either of you played Evoland?
Yes.
Nope.
Evoland 1 and 2.
So I own the second one. I've not played it, and the reason for this is I purchased Evoland the day it came out, and the reason I purchased it the day it came out is because it looked stellar. The gimmick of Evoland, for Cajun and the audience members who haven't played it, is you start off in a Game Boy style RPG. And then you evolve into an NES-style RPG and an SNES-style RPG, all the way to a PlayStation-style RPG, just by completing the story. And if you look at the trailer, it seems like this huge, big, sprawling game with this central mechanic. And the thing is that you can beat the game in like an hour. And it made me really, really sad, not because of the money I spent on it, because I'm a firm believer that the amount of dollar that you put into a game isn't a direct correlation to the amount of time you should be getting out of it. I think that games are more nuanced than that. But the thing is that I liked it, but it was over too quickly. And keep in mind, the puzzles in the game are very, very similar to Minit's puzzles, which are very similar to Anodyne's puzzles, which are very similar to Seedling's puzzles, which are very similar to 3D Game Heroes puzzles, which are, go back to Granddaddy Zelda, again, very specifically Link's Awakening, which might be the most Zelda game ever made, to be honest. The thing is, though, that with Minit, right out of the box that it's tiny. And because it's so tiny, and because hey, this is a small game, you are impressed by how the world opens up. You're impressed by what it can do in that time constraint. Whereas Evoland bills itself to be this huge, massive, sprawling thing, and that may be more player expectation than developer expectation. But at the end of the day, it's a much, much smaller experience, and you're left kind of empty with it. And ultimately, these are games with similar mechanics. The characters are equally as quirky, I would say. And I say with Evoland, the mechanics do kind of change up later, but for at least a good chunk of it, it's a game with similar mechanics, with similar puzzle styles, that are shrouding themselves in the sort of retro RPG action adventure game aesthetic. But yet, Minit seems bigger than Evoland, despite all of that, even though you expect it to be smaller, and at the end of the day, they're actually the same size. Sorry, I don't want to go on like this huge rant about it, but it just sort of, I was playing it, it just hit me. Like, oh my god, it's like the inverse of Evoland.
You said you have the second one, right? Evoland 2?
I do own it, and I bought it because I enjoyed the first one.
Okay.
However, I didn't play it just because every time I thought about it, I'm like, oh man, I don't want to be hurt again. Please don't hurt me again.
No, okay, yeah, I just wanted to say, I like the first one more than I like the second one, but I didn't complete the second one. Haven't beat it, but the mechanic, the same mechanic that is in the first one is the same, but it's different because it has to do with time travel. Like, you go through portals and you travel through different times. In the further into the future you travel based on looks versus...
I mean, that sounds cool.
I mean, it's cool, but it's not as good as the first one, but that's my opinion. Just wanted to say that little ditty.
But do you, having played Evoland and having beat it, do you see what I mean about it in relation to Minit, about its length and about how small it feels in comparison? Would you agree with that, or would you disagree?
Yeah, but,
what do you?
Yeah, I mean, but I Minit is more appealing. I agree with you that, and that they do seem to be about the same length. And the thing with the Evo in comparison, the Evo, when you beat the boss, like, it's over. Like, well, Minit has more replayability due to its speed running thing. So hey, you know what?
Yeah.
So like that, and it harks back to trophy list and achievements and stuff of how, hey, so you can, now that you know what to do it faster. See how many runs you can do it. See how quickly and how little deaths you can do it will net you a trophy or an achievement.
It's like, oh, okay, it takes a couple of seconds to figure out, okay, you can hack the bush with a sword and go through it. Okay, but how long is it going to take you to be able to get proficient at walking, pixel perfect, hit it with a sword, then blow up, and you just keep it going through, not missing a second that you would otherwise spend there? How many seconds can you shave off one at a time from this action to that action until you can, play the game as quick as you can?
Yeah, the walkthrough that I used, which I confess to using because I got stuck, was I think a 10-minute walkthrough. Like, it showed you how to beat the game in 10 minutes. I
think we all at one point had to consult the walkthrough just to try to figure out that one section that we were stuck on. But because I'm trying to use it, consult it right now, trying to get all of the coins. But yeah, I use like I think a 25-minute walkthrough for mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like the game. I really enjoyed it. I think everything about it is fantastic, and that it's worth a playthrough. It really is.
Yeah, like basically, if I had to say, if people like Undertale and if people like Link's Awakening, or any of the other 1.5 million games I compared it to on this, if you like any one of those, you'd definitely like Minit.
If you like Link's Awakening but feel that it's not snarky enough for you, you might just like this.
I do want to ask, and I'll ask Grant first, and then Cajun. What was your favorite part? What was your favorite part of the game?
I don't know. I'm okay. My favorite part is probably the boat part, and then when you go to the island and finally activate the teleporters, because I like, the guy was like, "Hey man, I need some boat wood," and you're like, "Excuse me, boat wood? You need some wood for your boat? Okay." So you find that special tree, you chop it down, and you bring him the piece of boat wood. And then he's like, I'm gonna need some time. And I didn't actually do that part for a while. Like, I was just like, oh, you need some time? Okay, I died, went back, explored some more. And I was like, oh wait, what about that boat guy? Because I got stuck for a while. So I was like, oh, what about that boat dude? And I got onto the boat, and it slowly made its way across the ocean. Slowly. And by the skin of my teeth, I was like, oh, there's a house here. So I went into the house and was like, you found a new home. Okay. How in the... And then when you leave your home, you're like, the boat's gone. How in the hell do I get off this island? That was probably my favorite part, is just figuring out how to get off that island. That was probably one of my favorite puzzles and favorite part just because the boat character was kind of cool.
I like that inside the like underground space, like in the beach hut in the boat section. That's where it's like a room with all of your stat tracking stuff. I'm like, holy crap, there's stats. I get to know how many times I died and stuff.
Yeah, I think I mentioned before we recorded that I believe in my run, I think I died 98 times, and it took close to like 2 hours or so to beat it. 2 hours and 19 minutes, I think, was my time.
So, what about you, Cajun?
Frankly, the ending, the way that you complete the game by flushing yourself down a toilet.
Why? I mean, how so? Why is that your favorite part? Like, just because it's weird?
Because you've gone through all these puzzles. You've gone through like, okay, so it's, I guess, plot spoilers. Not that it's, I mean, a huge game, but you figure out that you're trying to, I guess, like save the environment or something like that by destroying the polluting sword factory. And so you go through, you beat the boss, you play this crazy thing. And there's no, like, princess at the end of the tunnel, at the end of the level. You don't drive away on one of the delivery trucks. I mean, you just go throw the sword down the toilet, and that's it. You're done. You go to sleep after that.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I guess the adventure's over. All right, cool.
Let's go take a nap with my dog.
Yeah, I forgot all about that part. Like, I forgot, like, I knew it just ended, and I was like, yeah, thank you. Yeah, you just go to sleep. That's it.
Yeah. I guess in a way it kind of reminds me of, like, The Lord of the Rings, You have this great adventure, they go and defeat Sauron, and then you're back in the Shire, and you just relax and write a book, and that's it. Until I guess you go to the Great Havens, but, what do you do over there besides chill out and more naps and food?
Isn't that supposed to be, like, their heaven? The Grey Havens thing?
It's basically Avalon. It's supposed to be like Avalon at the end of the Grail quest in King Arthur.
Yeah, like that's what I thought. It's supposed to symbolize like he gets in the boat and sails off to like the afterlife, to like he's done. He's fulfilled his destiny. His meaning in life.
Yeah, I don't know about necessarily heaven, but it's the undying lands. Where you just don't age or get older or die.
So my favorite part would have to be, and this is kind of a weird little thing. So it's near the first third, like it's I guess first third, maybe first fourth, where you find that little trailer in the desert, and it's your first new home. I think it has to be your first new home, and for me, like that's when the game opened up. Right there. I'm like, okay, yeah, because I imagined that I was going to have to do the entire game just for my first home. And at that point was when I realized, I'm like, wow, holy crap, this game is a lot bigger than it is. And then like I just like the desert in general. And so that was kind of my favorite part, is it shifted how my brain thought about the game. And from that point on, I actually enjoyed it a lot more. Of course, by the time I got to the hotel, I'm just like, man, this is weird house, giant air quotes, but yeah, no, that was my favorite part, was first going into the desert home.
Yeah, I did not. I think I completed one part of the temple, like the hidden temple, the secret temple. I don't know what happens when you actually complete the whole temple, but I know there's one part that you can't beat it without the sneakers, being able to run fast. So
yeah, I've found it, and you can get a couple of rooms through, but the maze is literally just zigzagging back and forth, and so there's no way you can do it with 60 seconds without the shoes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, because I did, I think the tree part where you got like the one tentacle, and then I did the part where you had to take the watering can and put out the fires, and I think you got something else there, but I wasn't able to do the running part. Like that's the only part that I didn't get to finish. But yeah, what you're saying, Jay, though, is the desert. So you find the person in the desert, and they're like, hey, you get the throwing sword. And you're like, all right, cool, I got the throwing sword. But if you keep going, the sign's like, you're going to get lost. It's the endless desert. And you keep going, and you keep going, and you keep going, and it's just the same screen over and over and over until your time's up.
Well, every now and then the cactus changes position on the screen.
Yeah. or the cactus isn't there. But it's literally like the endless desert. Like you get lost and you're like, it doesn't matter. Like you can keep going the different directions, but then I think you get trapped in like a loop, like a procedurally generated loop to where you die and you have to start.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really interesting to me because it is procedurally generated, but it's not like, okay, so you just keep walking south, but you're still stuck in the same room, like that staircase in Mario 64, where it looks like it's infinite, but it really is just the same spot. Like, if you go down 6 screens, there's going to be 6 screens of blank, but you can go back up 6 screens, and then you'll be right back where you started before you started going down. So it keeps it in memory while you're in that life, at least.
I don't think it does that though with the house.
I think that's actually one of the really cool things is that it stores that stuff in memory because to the human brain, you're like, oh, it can just keep going on forever. But then like as a programmer, it's just like, no, they only had to calculate for however fast you can be with the speed shoes. You're only going like at most 10 screens down, right? Like and so, like, that's kind of a really cool illusion that it's like, no, it just goes on forever. And if I kept going, it would just be more desert. And then I'd have to walk all that back. But no, like, that's just something really neat. I don't know.
I think, though, but how the house works is similar to that because you can keep going down and down and down and down and down, or you can keep going up. But I think once you enter I'm not sure if you go up, like, 6 times, go down 6 times, then go back up 6 times. I don't think you're at the opening of the house. Because you
leave the main exit of the house, the entrance and exit are the same. It's on every single floor, so it's literally just making the same room appear again and again and again.
Yeah, minus.
Yeah, you just
TV.
change location left or right of the screen. That's all you do.
Yeah, minus the TV every once in a while.
Wait, the TV disappears?
No, you break
every time I've done it, the TV just will occasionally say something different.
I think, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, the TV says something different every once in a while. Yeah,
and I don't think that matters on direction. I think it's just in a loop.
Yeah, because then I know you're supposed to break the TV, and that's how you get the ghosts, the ghouls, the goblins.
Wait, that's what you have to do? Holy crap! I've literally spent like 10 minutes in that house trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do to get the ghost to show up.
Yeah, you just break the TV, and now you know, right? The CBS thing, right? With the shooting star, it says the more you know.
NBC.
The NBC,
yeah. Yeah, NBC.
Yeah.
I think I know what I'm going to be playing tomorrow night, though.
You're like, I'm gonna get everything. I'm gonna beat it. Yeah, actually talking about it, I kind of want to revisit it. God of War. Oh, it's so good. So good.
So yeah, the last we're talking about Minit, or is there more?
I guess. I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say. I mean, from a developer standpoint, I mean, what do you have anything interesting to state? Because I can't from the layman, from the non-coding side, other than someone who enjoys the aesthetic and the music and just the dialogue and the quirky nature of the game.
The from a developer standpoint, I think I've kind of said what I can say about how just tightly driven it is, how its design is more puzzle centric, and I think we've said, at least I know I have, as much as I can say about the actual straight up design of it. On the programming perspective, none of the programming is particularly impressive, but it doesn't have to be, and that's one of the cool things. The thing was made in GameMaker, which GameMaker can do a lot of crazy stuff. Like, at the end of the day, it didn't need to be a lot of stuff. It didn't need to be all these crazy tricks. What it did, much like its mechanics, it was as lean as it can possibly be to get across the experience that it wanted to. And I actually applaud that, because so many people overthink their projects. So many people put in so much additional, like, going through hoops, both from a design perspective as well as a programming perspective, that this is clearly an expert team. Like obviously Vlambeer and Devolver Digital, and that's all I can say on that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I usually have just as a player and mechanics wise, there's usually stuff that I'll sit there and nitpick and I'll kind of tease apart. It's like, this maybe they could have done this different, but really honestly, this game is so just
Tight.
well put to, yes, it's like I said earlier, everything that is in there mechanics wise works with every other mechanic for a reason, and it does it well. There really is not a lot that I can nitpick with this game that, it doesn't get into the unreasonable expectations area, like having to charge up your sword a little bit. Maybe they could have added a different button to do the sword, so, but it's like, really, you're just splitting hairs at that point. So,
Ooh, I have one graphical design nitpick.
Yes.
I was waiting for someone to ask me what it was.
I mean,
Sorry.
I was like, the anticipation, it's killing me. What is it?
Anticipation. The one nitpick I have is by the expert sign maker. There is a saw on the ground, and it's clearly just his saw, but I kept trying to pick it up.
Yeah, because the actual saw guy gives you he gives you something, and it's like, now you can chop down trees, but there's a saw right here.
No, he doesn't give you anything. He makes you on a quest to get the mittens.
Oh yeah, that's what. Yeah, so you won't hurt your hands. Yeah, if you go into the menu, it says here's some nice mittens, so you don't hurt your hands while you're chopping down trees. That gives you the ability to chop down trees. Yep,
and I thought I needed that saw, and the saw isn't even an item.
Yeah, that's definitely grasping at straws for design. But no, I totally.
Hey man, I tried to pick that up for 3 lives, so I that's a nitpick that bugged me enough where I did have to bring it up.
Oh yeah. No, other than the obtuseness of direction for the game, you understand what you need to do. It's the how you do it kind of thing, which plays into the design of the game. I understand that.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, that's my only problem. Well, other than I got stuck a little bit. But other than that, I mean, the game is perfect in its simplicity. It does everything. It does everything right, the way it needs to be, and nothing more and nothing less.
I think that's the title of our episode. Perfectly simple.
Yeah, agree. That's great. Yeah, couldn't agree more. No, what you stated in your whole what you stated previously, the whole your diatribe earlier, a few minutes ago, I think summed up the game perfectly.
Thanks. So I guess maybe we should do our sign off then, if we are out of things to talk about.
I'm back.
But no, well, you were gone earlier, and we did a little bit of smidge of housekeeping of how Two Devs and a Dude podcast is now available on iTunes.
And Google Play.
And it'll be coming to Stitcher and SoundCloud and all that other stuff, hopefully soon.
Yep, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Spotify are the next places we're going. And then on the website, where we currently have the episodes up there, we will have, because we're on YouTube now, and we're also on Podbean, and then we just became Apple and Google podcasts as well. On the website, the player will be the YouTube player probably, and you can also download the episode, and then it'll have links to all of those. And then the YouTube video on our actual YouTube channel will have links to where you can get it on iTunes and on Google Play and things like that. So that they'll all be going out on the same day, and we're trying to get a schedule for that, for whenever to put up those things. But yeah, so
suggestion that you should link Cajun and ours stuff in the YouTube descriptions. Just a little, wink, wink.
I already do that, don't I?
I don't know. I don't think
I have no idea.
You should go check that, because I'm nearly positive I do. And I also link to Glinty, because he does the intro-outro video stuff.
I think in the description on the website, it links to Glenn's stuff. It says you can get his album here, and that's actually a clickable link, but everything else is non-clickable from the Wraith Games website. But I have not checked YouTube.
I think I know what it might be, but this would be kind of weird. If stuff's non-clickable, that's because when Podbean pushes it out, it turns it into plain text rather than being a link. But everything should be clickable. But if not, I can make that happen, because that's the way I was setting it up to do.
Okay, that's cool. I noticed that. I haven't checked YouTube, so I'll do that and probably subscribe.
Yeah, do me a favor. check Podbean and see what they do, because the Podbean on each of your names, it should send you to your Twitters, and then on Glenn's, it should send him to a SoundCloud. Or SoundCloud or Spotify, whatever he wanted us to send it to.
Okay, cool. All right, yeah, I'll check that out.
Well, our next episode will be in a couple weeks, and that's going to be another news episode, and then after that is going to be another games episode. If you have news topics or games you would like us to play, please send those requests to podcast@wraithgames.com. And I've been Jay Kidd, lead designer of Wraith Games, and I've been joined by...
Once again, I'm Cajun, host of the IndieView Podcast, developer of Rocketbox.
And I am Grant McClure, Brigadoon564 on Twitter and Twitch, and founder of GameOver GameOn, which is on Podbean, Google Play, iTunes. Yeah, it's a podcast and it's in hiatus, but there's old episodes that are there that you can watch, and also the Go-Go Show on YouTube. There's a really dumb video that Jake and I recorded, or we shot and edited, called the Coke Challenge. Jake drinks a bottle of Coke. Yeah, it's real dumb, but it's funny in its own sort of dumb way.
So, until next time, two devs and a dude, signing off.
Go rate us on iTunes, and see ya.
Are we good?
I was waiting on you to say bye, but okay.
That was
Bye, everybody.